What is going on, dreamers? What up, YouTube? Today's discussion is going to be a little bit less lighthearted and a little bit more of a serious topic, just about some of the things that I've noticed, political comments, some things that's happening in the world, and then a little bit of a discussion about the recent shooting in California that I wanted to get on here and talk about. I felt it important. But first, a discussion just around some comments that I heard from our big bad general, the great and powerful Donald Trump. America, yeah, coming again to save the moment. I will play the clip of his actual words because I don't want to take the guy out of context. But before I get into the actual clip, I did want to do a little sidebar about the channel. No, I do not plan on making the channel a political channel. When I said I wanted to talk about things that were closer to me or that I just thought about talking about, this is exactly what I meant. So like the last video I posted was like a week or two ago on the Jamaica versus Curacao match, and obviously this is a completely different subject. So I just wanted to toss this in here that no, we are not turning into a political channel, a politics channel talking about nothing but politics. But I did find this important to talk about because the comments came in sort of quick succession right before the shooting, and they sort of have similarities between each other. But I'll play the full clip and then I'll go into discussion of our beautiful president talking about how he plans on deporting American citizens. So here's the clip.
We also have homegrown criminals that push people into subways, that hit elderly ladies on the back of the head with a baseball bat when they're not looking, that are absolute monsters. I'd like to include them in the group of people to get them out of the country, but you'll have to be looking at the laws on that, Steve, okay?
You mentioned that you're open to deporting individuals that aren't foreign aliens but are criminals to El Salvador. Does that include potentially U.S. citizens, fully naturalized Americans?
If they're criminals and if they hit people with baseball bats over their head that happen to be 90 years old, and if they rape 87-year-old women in Coney Island, Brooklyn, yeah, that includes them. What do you think? There's a special category of person? They're as bad as anybody that comes in. We have bad ones too, and I'm all for it because we can do things with the president for less money and have great security. And we have a huge prison population. We have a huge number of prisons, and then we have the private prisons, and some are operated well, I guess, and some aren't. But he does a great job with that. We have others that we're negotiating with too. But no, if it's a homegrown criminal, I have no problem. Now, we're studying the laws right now. Pam is studying. If we can do that, that's good. And I'm talking about violent people. I'm talking about really bad people. Really bad people.
So as you can see from that clip, like it's pretty scary because what I've noticed is when our president talks, he doesn't talk as a president or as someone who's speaking in political certainties, political absolutes. He speaks as though he is sort of just trying to get a point across. He speaks as though he is just, in the moment, this is how I feel. And so that's what it's going to be. And that's always been sort of how DT has been. And I think instead of turning this into a video where I'm just bashing Donald Trump and, I have people in the comments supporting him, people not supporting him, I want to more focus this on those who are sort of savvy in terms of politics, political science, or just, geopolitics as it is, as the world stands, or just folks that are relatively informed. You might be able to see from his comments that, like, he's sort of hinting at deporting American citizens. And now what will happen is you might get in the trap, which he set. And I want to make it very clear, I do not think Donald Trump is stupid. I think he does some very stupid things. I think he does some very just outlandish things. But I do believe that he is a very calculated individual. And I think he has people around him, if he is an idiot, that advise him well enough to make very calculated decisions and utilize his brashness and utilize the fact that he's outlandish to their advantage. Now, with that being said, I do believe this was calculated. Essentially, what he was saying in that statement was that the worst of our society we should start, maybe consider pushing them out, maybe deporting them. And you might get some people who are supporters of DT, or some people who might be a supporter just of that notion, who might say, yeah, I agree. If they're going to be out here harming people, it doesn't matter if you're a citizen or not. You don't deserve to be an American if you're out here harming adults, R-wording random women or children, hurting children anyway.
Over the weekend, President Trump said that he would be willing to have U.S. citizens deported to El Salvador with the cooperation of President Bukele. How would that work legally, and how many people would potentially be available for that operation?
So the president has discussed this idea quite a few times publicly. He's also discussed it privately. You're referring to the president's idea for American citizens to potentially be deported. These would be heinous, violent criminals who have broken our nation's laws repeatedly. And these are violent, repeat offenders in American streets. The president has said, if it's legal, right? If there is a legal pathway to do that, he's not sure. We are not sure if there is. It's an idea that he has simply floated and has discussed very publicly as in the effort of transparency.
But let me implore you to take a pause, take a break. I'm not going to bash you. I'm not going to criticize your ideology, but I do implore you to think really quickly. If you are indicating or insinuating that by being bad, by being evil, you don't deserve to be American, where are you deporting these people to? Because and it doesn't matter really where you select. You can select North Korea. You can select, a good place, if you will. You can, because I don't think the general overview of North Korea as a country is that it's a good place. But let's say you pick a good place. You're sending them to a Germany where they're living an okay life, but they're just no longer a United States citizen. What you're implying with that is that the deplorable of society, the bad of society, deserve to be shipped off or sent away to wherever we select. And I think there's a inherent and general problem with that. You cannot go about life, navigating life as a country, operating in a way where you are shipping off your tainted, your deplorable, your bad out of your society into another society. Because that society, not only will they have to deal with the repercussions of their country now being basically a concentration camp for the prisoners of America, but they also have to deal with the backlash of having to house these people, having to take care of these individuals. And I don't believe people really consider that either. The reason America has a huge problem with crime and gang violence is because our system, both the judicial system and the prison system, cannot handle the volume of crime that our country experiences. And I don't think it's wise, I don't think it's smart to dismiss those who are worried about gang violence or who are worried about the problem of gun violence in America, dismiss their notions of wanting to get rid of these bad people. But I do, as I said, implore that side to consider where or what we should do with these people. You can't just ship these people off and decide, oh, we don't want them here anymore, because at the end of the day, this is an American problem. And as Americans, we need to fix this problem. I think there's a deep dive discussion that needs to be had about gun control, and the effect that may or may not have on gun violence in America. Obviously, we're going to have a smaller discussion really soon about the recent events in Stockton, California, and that is a state that's really big on gun control. And so when things like this happen in places like New York, Connecticut, the Northeast in general, and then California and some of the more liberal blue states where gun control is more prevalent, you start to question, like, does gun control work? And I personally, I don't need to say my own stance on whether or not gun control works, because I have my own beliefs on that. But I will say that those who do, are anti-gun or do believe that gun control is the way, I understand some of the arguments made on that side as well. But we get moments like, as I mentioned, that recently happened in Stockton, California, that are just absolutely disgusting, really. And I'll play a little news clip of what happened there if you have not been informed or if you're not aware as of yet. But it just really is heartbreaking when things like this happen. So I'll play the clip.
Tonight, the urgent manhunt coursing through Central California, aimed at a suspected shooter, authorities say brought violence and death to a day of joy for children.
I have one down. The CPR has already been started on.
More than 100 people were gathered inside this banquet hall for a child's birthday party, according to authorities, when shots rang out.
I have one GSW victim to the chest.
4 people were killed, with at least 11 others wounded. Among the lives lost, 3 children, 8, 9, and 14 years old, along with a 21-year-old.
Devastating. Our hearts go out to the families, to the victims, to this community.
The sheriff's office doesn't believe there's an ongoing threat to the community.
Preliminary investigation is we do not believe that this was a random incident, that we believe that it was a targeted incident, a targeted shooting.
The mayor fearing gang ties may be a factor.
I have been told by individuals who were invited to this event that there were people there who had ties in the gang community.
Do we think this instance of violence was directly because of that gang affiliation?
From what I understand, it was due to a beef between individuals, and they wanted to send a message.
Tonight, a town shaken by a stunning act of violence.
And as you can see from the news clip there, it's just really heartbreaking because it's children that are dying. This is a children's birthday party, and I mean, it's really obvious to me that this is gang-related gang violence. I mean, guns don't just pop off and you're hearing shots ring out, and we're talking of tens, maybe even hundreds of shots let off with tens of people hit, multiple people dead. Like that doesn't happen just because someone gets mad or just because someone decides they've had it. It's either gang violence or it's one person targeting many people. And with that many shots let off in all different directions, it's obvious to me that this is gang violence. And it all leads back to everything that we talked about in this video. What is the solution? I have my own proposed solution, but that's not really the purpose of the video. The purpose of the video isn't to come on here and act like I know better than you, and here's what we should be doing, and I don't understand why we're not doing this. It's more of just to tell you guys to be safe. I don't like the direction the country's been in for the last, 20 to 30 years, really, when it comes to gun violence, school shootings, and just the prevalence of violence in general, whether it's racial violence or it's political violence or it's just regular old violence in this country. But also, I do understand that as civilians, we do need to be prepared. We do need to be able to defend ourselves. And so I just implore you all to stay safe, do what you gotta do wherever you're at. And until the next video, dreamers, be easy, man. I love you guys.